Hello everybody, today we're going to work on solving for x in equations where we have x on both sides as well as numbers on each side of the equation or the equal sign. So let's go ahead and get started with it. We're going to start out with 9x minus 6 equals 10 plus x. Now what I'd like for you to do is to do this with me, and I'll go slowly so you can watch me but yet do it yourself, because I think one of the best ways to learn is to be able to do it by hands-on, by doing it yourself instead of just watching. But if you want to watch first and then go back and replay, that works as well. So we've got to get our x's together and our numbers together. So just remember, you can't combine x's with just a number, or if this, or y's, if there was a y here, you can't combine your x's with y's, or your x's with a number, or x's and y's. You can't add those together, okay? You can't subtract them or add them. It's like you can't really add apples and oranges together. So like this is apples, this is oranges, and I can't add them together because you're always going to have 9 apples and -6 oranges. So let's start out, and again, like I said, I'm going to do this step by step the long way. So the first thing I want to do is get my x's on the same side. And usually what I do, not always, but I will take the one that's the smaller number and move it to the one with a larger number. In this case, it wouldn't create a negative number in front of the x. It doesn't matter. It's just a preference. You can do it either way you want. So with that in mind, I've got to get this. I'm going to take this x over to this side. So what you have to do is you have to look and see, is it added or subtracted? So it's added. So what we have to do is the opposite to get it to cancel out. So I'm subtracting x from this side. Now remember, what I do to one side, I absolutely have to do to the other side. So I'm subtracting it from this side as well. Okay. Now I've got 9 minus, and that's implied that that's a 1x if there's nothing in front of it. That means it's a 1. You don't have to write it. It just is implied. So we've got 9 minus 1, which is 8x. And we got to bring back down this because we haven't done anything with our numbers yet. Bring down the 10, and those cancel. Okay? Now we want to move this number over here with this number. So we'll have the x all by itself on this side, or the 8x. So what we're going to do in this, we look and see the sign in front of it, and we have to do the opposite. That way it'll cancel out, because 6 minus 6 is 0. Okay, so let's bring down our 8x. That cancels, and that leaves me with what? 16. I try to, and I didn't on this one, but I always like to line up my equal signs. Okay, now, just like we were doing the opposite up here, if it was negative we added, we have to do the opposite down here, because remember, this is technically 8 times x. So to get rid of this 8, so we'll just solve for x, we have to do the opposite of what we're doing here. So this is multiplication. We have to divide. So what you want to do is you want to, in this case, if it's just a whole number, divide by whatever is in front of this x, which is 8. Okay, so this is the same thing as saying 8 divided by 8, which is going to give us 1, and that leaves the x. Oh, sorry, y'all can't even see it. Apologize for that. So we divided by the 8 here. And we divided this side by 8 as well. Remember, you got to do it to both sides. So this is the same thing as 8 divided by 8, which is 1. So those cancel, leaving us this x, and that equals to 16 divided by 8. 16 divided by 8 is 2. Now, what I suggest highly is to always check your work. Now, you're not always going to have time, but try to do it if you can. So to check your work, I'm going to go back to the original equation. I'm just going to rewrite it. Okay, so we got that x is 2. So wherever there's an x, I'm going to plug 2 in. So we got 9 times 2 minus 6 equals 10 plus 2. This side, 12. This side is 9 times 2 is 18. Minus 6 is 12. So it checked out. So that is our solution. Again, that's just one of the great things about math is you can check yourself in algebra and know when you leave that test, hey, I checked myself, so I know I got that right. Now, if you're limited on time and you don't have time to, you may want to go ahead and do your problems and then go back if you have time and check. I realize that it's not always going to be easy to do that when we're limited on time, but you definitely could do it if you're doing a take-home quiz or homework for a grade or or just anything, even if it's for a grade or not for a grade. So I suggest you do it. Now I'm going to do this one again using all the steps, but then I'm going to show you how to do it without using so many steps. But I recommend if you're struggling with it, if you're just learning how to do it, to prevent yourself from making mistakes, I would do it the long way, okay? So we got x's on both sides, numbers on both sides, so let's combine our x's, and I'm going to do it by bringing this x over here. So I'm going to, again, do the opposite of whatever's in front of it, so it will cancel, and go over here immediately and do it to this side so you don't forget. That cancels, leaving 13 on that side. I had to add the x over here, so I've got 4x plus 1x, which is 5x. And then don't forget, bring down your 7. If you keep your equal signs in line, it helps to bring things straight down. Okay, so I recommend doing that. Now we need to get the 7 to the other side. So again, what are we going to do here? It's subtracted, so we have to do the opposite, so they'll equal 0 on this side. So we're adding 7. Go ahead and do that to both sides before you forget. Those cancel, it leaves us with 5x. Again, keeping our equal signs aligned. 13 plus 7 is 20. Okay, now we got to get this 5, rid of this 5 over here. So to get rid of it, we need to do the opposite of what it's doing. It's multiplying, so we've got to divide. And I apologize for the shadow. So we're going to divide both sides by 5. 5 divided by 5 is 1, so that just leaves us with x. 20 divided by 5 is 4. Let's plug it in up here. We've got 4 times 4 minus 7 equals 13 minus 4. So I get 16 minus 7 equals 9. Is 6 minus 7 9? It is. So we've checked our work, and that's our answer. All right, now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go in here and show you how to solve this with maybe one less step. But again, I really urge you to do it long ways, especially if it's homework or when you've got plenty of time. Just do practice work. Do it long ways before you try, combine multiple steps into one. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the x over here. I'm sorry, plus. And get the 7 over there in the same step. Okay. That cancels. That cancels. So I'm left with 5x equals 20. And then again, divide by 5, x equals 4. So that skips a step. I hope that makes sense. Again, I cannot reiterate enough how to check, that you need to check your work. It's so nice to be able to walk out of a quiz or a test and know that you did well because you checked yourself and you knew after you left that you got things right. Now, it is discouraging, of course, if it doesn't check out, but again, that's just one of the nice things about math is you get to check yourself. You can't do that necessarily in other classes. So it's there, it's available to do, and I suggest you do it. All right, I look forward to working with you all on another session coming up soon. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe.